bring them out.
That's what I was going for.
Okay. 2022 meeting of the Centreville Town Council. Everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are going to turn things over to Chief Sabori and the distinguished K-9 Crush.
Sergeant Larimore and K-9 Crush, come forward, please. So I've known Sergeant Larimore for at least 25 years, and I can tell you his reputation. He's well respected among the members of the Centreville Police Department and among the group, the K-9 group that he trains with on the Eastern Shore. I've known Crush for a little less than 10 years, and he's one of the most terrifying animals I've ever met. That is a joke, by the way. So, Crush is a 10-year-old. He just turned 10 a few months ago, Belgian Malinois. He has served the Centreville Police Department for almost 9 years. So 9 out of his 10 years he served with the police department and the citizens of this town. Since the beginning of the K-9 program with the Centreville Police Department, there's been 6 total K-9s, and I think Andy's probably handled 2 or 3.
This is my third.
This is third dog. So his dedication to this program, not only with the police department, but also with the K-9 group here on the Eastern Shore, shows just a high level of commitment to him and his credit. Crush has seized over $32,000 in assets. He's made 8 apprehensions, and out of all of those apprehensions of criminals, those suspects surrendered peacefully without having to be bit. Sergeant Larimore and K-9 Crush have attended 1,728 training hours to maintain their certifications, and that does not include the countless hours of his life and Crush's that went undocumented. And he's also, K-9 Crush has also conducted 626 scans for illegal substances. It has been a privilege to have such a invaluable resource with the Centreville Police Department, and we are tonight acknowledging and celebrating his service to our community. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Michelle Larimore, who has supported Andy and Crush, because I'm sure there's days where they both needed a little boost. So thank you, Michelle, for that. The best thing about having a K-9 with the department is they are such a invaluable resource. They never ask for a pay raise. They didn't ask for an enhanced retirement. They never call in sick. They never complain about the weather. So when I said that the last meeting I'd have one on every shift if I could, I stand behind that. So tonight we recognize K-9 Crush for his service to the police department and to, I'm not going to shake your hand, Crush, to the Centreville Police Department and the Perk community. So this will be for Crush, who's giving me the shark eye right now. That's why I'm on this side of Andy. So we present him with some retirement goodies.
Here.
And a plaque, and the plaque reads K-9 Crush 2013 through 2022 in recognition and appreciation of dedicated and faithful service to the town of Centreville and the Centreville Police Department.
Thanks, sir.
And then finally, certificate. And the certificate reads, Certificate of Commendation to K-9 Sergeant Crush, retired with distinction on March 3, 2022, in honor and recognition for your 9 years of loyal and dedicated service protecting the police officers and citizens of the town of Centreville. Thank you, Sergeant Larimore, and thank you for your service, K-9 Crush.
So
It's been my honor to serve with Canine Crush. I couldn't ask for a better partner. Been very blessed, very fortunate, and look forward to enjoying some time with his retirement. So thank you guys for your support, and I'd like to thank the officers for their support as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Chief.
Feels like it's all less fun from here with this meeting. Dog's fun.
When she was a puppy.
Well, I'm not sure that reading the council closed session is going to be quite the level of honoring the Canine Crush, but we'll move forward. I guess we should have a review of meetings from past minutes. Does anybody want to make a motion or make any changes to the minutes from February 17th, 2022?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, any motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I'm going to read a closed session statement. The town council met in closed session on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 at 6:17 PM at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, second floor meeting room to discuss personnel and consult with council in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. 5 members of the town council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in section 3-305 of the general provisions article. The town council discussed the following topics: personnel, management of town staff. There were no actions taken. The following members and staff were present: Stephen K. Klein, President; Jeffrey D. Keel, Vice President; Shelby C. Anania, Eric Johnson Jr., and Ashley H. Kaiser, members; and Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney. The meeting adjourned at 6:54 p.m. We're now open into Citizens Forum. Does the town clerk want to read our Citizens Forum rules of the road?
Sure. Welcome to this meeting of the Centreville Town Council. This is a public meeting and we welcome your participation. By attending, you acknowledge that this session is recorded and aired live on QAC TV 7. During the meeting, we ask that you turn your cell phones off and hold personal conversations outside the meeting room. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The town council respects and appreciates your desire and right to convey your message freely, and in keeping with the dignity of proceedings, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. If questions are a part of your comments, we'll refer those to the appropriate individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone signed up?
I don't think so.
All right, anybody in the room here? No? All right. Move into appearances. Michelle Keplinger from the Local Government Insurance Trust. Come on up, have a seat, and...
Have a seat, okay.
Yep, make sure you speak into a microphone.
Absolutely.
We are on TV.
Good evening, and I'm happy to be here tonight with this check. And for a little of information for the ones that don't know the background of the Legit Health program, is we started it in 2010, and we have given back in surplus over $21 million. And Centreville joined in 2015. And we've given back in surplus over $213,000. And tonight, I will be presenting you for the fiscal 21 return, $109,492.
Wonderful.
Which is great. This is wonderful.
Wonderful.
Here.
Okay, so I don't know who wants to be the one to.
I will take that for sure. I was only teasing
Do
really
you,
about
do you want a photo op?
No.
No photo?
Come on, Steve.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just, thank you
Here.
very much.
Here we go. Here we go. There we go.
There's no
I
way to
got
do
it.
this and not look
There we go.
ridiculous.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you being a part of Legit Health, and hopefully next year is even better. I don't know, this was pretty good though.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So much.
Well, retiring canines and big checks, I'm not sure,
Good
I'm
meeting.
not sure this council person goes anywhere from here except down. All right, new business, roof replacement, pump house and office building. Chip, is this you or Kip?
You were wrong. The excitement keeps coming, Steve.
Yeah, we gotta spend money, so it's not.
I'll sign this check over to you, all right?
I will certainly put it to good use for the town. Good evening. You have before you the memo. I have a few corrections to it. Quote was received for replacement for the roof on the wastewater treatment lab building and the headworks at the wastewater treatment plant. The total quote for this work for both buildings is $13,116.30, and it is covered in the capital budget for 2022. It was actually encumbered from 2021 and was slated to be used for enclosing the contact chamber at the wastewater treatment plant. Given the fact that we're just starting the process, looking into upgrading the wastewater treatment plant, the money would be better spent elsewhere at this point.
Kip, what did we budget for this, you know?
It was $25,000 is actually what was budgeted for the contact chamber. So we're well below what this price quote is. The price quote was actually quoted through a company called Gordian. They are a firm that pre-bids to contractors for different work and everything. So it had already gone to bid someplace else, and that's the numbers that they used to come up with the quote for us here. So staff recommends approval of the expenditure of $13,116.30 for the roof replacement.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I just have a quick question, if you don't mind. Out of curiosity, has it been more than 10 years and/or to your knowledge that these roofs have had to be replaced? So is this,
Those roofs are both original to when the wastewater treatment plant was built. So you're looking at coming up on, it's 18 years now.
what's the life expectancy, would you say? Is it the same for both buildings?
The life expectancy.
Of the new roof.
Of the new roof. If I remember correctly, these are quoted on 30-year shingles.
Okay.
So.
That's great.
About 20 years.
It's
Get it right.
Actually, I can tell you that what's happened is the material under the roof of the contact chamber failed before the roof actually failed, and then the roof started failing from there. So, but it's definitely not going to hold up until we have a new wastewater treatment plant. So, you're here.
Want the motion now?
I'd love that, yeah, be great.
Just making sure. I make a motion to approve the roof replacement for the office building and the pump house at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $13,116.30.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Correspondence, do we have any correspondence this week? All right. Moving to reports of boards and commissions, we'll start with the Maryland Municipal League.
I have nothing.
Economic Development.
Not a whole lot to report, other than have been approached by several members that have not stepped down from what was our CETA, Centreville Economic Development Authority, for those dialing in that may not know what that is, and interested in reigniting some level of activity. So I know we've talked up to this point about transitioning to something other than how CETA was structured. And so I would just ask for unanimous consent from this body to begin working with Chip and Paige here in the next few months at some sort of reignited version of that can help to support Paige as our economic development manager and her mission. And that's all I have for that.
Great. You want consent?
Yeah, just as, in case there's any strong feelings about not reigniting some semblance of what CETA was.
Yeah, I mean, because I was council liaison to CETA when I got first elected, and there was issue of attendance, there was issue, I mean, I think COVID was tough
Yes.
on all of our boards and councils and things of that nature, but the reason why we made it sort of an ad hoc was because if it's an official entity of the town, there's a requirement for minutes and town staff. And so it just seemed like a bad investment of town staff time to have, people attend these things. And usually, if there were 6 people at the meeting, most of them were either staff or council people. So, but I'm all for re-energized CETA.
Well, I will come back with a more specific plan and a concept, and so I'll work, Chip, with you on that, and Paige. And clearly, if anybody has any input from this council or the town staff, please email me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Park Advisory Board?
Yes, we met via Zoom on Tuesday, but we are looking forward to meeting in person next month at the pavilions at the wharf, which are underway. So hopefully that will, more work is going to happen at those, and they're looking so good so far. So I hope you guys go down there and check those out. And then Mike is still working on quotes to provide to council for the expansion of the trail system, but he is working on those and should have them shortly. And we are still finalizing the plans for the Arbor Day celebration, but that is April 29th, and we are working on getting some details on how we can involve the schools, and once we have some more details, I'll bring them to everyone.
Thank you.
Quick parks question. Where are we on talking to the county about a dog park at White Marsh Park?
I have not talked to them yet.
Okay. Well, I didn't think you were. I thought we were just telling the parks that it was okay. Remember they asked for our permission basically to approach the county.
So
Where we were.
I don't believe they've talked to anyone in the county, but I'll touch base with them. I'll send some emails and I'll loop you in.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council of Governments
Nothing at this time. We have a meeting next week.
here in town?
Yes.
It'll
Yeah.
be here at the Liberty Building,
Yes.
hosted by the commissioners, and it'll be tax set-off differential discussion.
What day is it?
March
Next
9th,
Wednesday, the 9th.
And you need everybody needs to be there for the tax set-off because it's interesting, so.
Oh, that's
I am beside myself with anticipation.
not the word I would have used.
And there's food, so
Yeah, free food, dinner.
I am
You get
beside
dinner.
myself.
always, what's that?
Can there be a puppy or something there?
We can make that happen.
Yeah,
The county paying for that food?
Yes,
yes.
I'll be there.
each town pays for their,
The Planning Commission, I'm curious, maybe the town manager can enlighten us on the status of the Carter Farm folks renting the library for public interface.
I got some emails from them I have not got through yet. We did have a TAC meeting with them the other day to kind of stop talking around each other and emailing around each other to get down. And good said, I think the conversation was good. I think we cleared up some of, what they wanted to do as far as moving forward, and until, with them understanding wastewater issues, but they would like to keep the planning process moving forward. So what I'd rather do is give you something a little more comprehensive and email to the council, and then I can discuss it more fully at the last one, 'cause we just had that the other day.
So as far as we know, they're not moving forward with a public town
He sent
hall.
out
Yes.
a
Yeah, they are.
postcard
Yes.
email of what they want to do, and they're prepared to engage. I thought they were going to ask us to do an email blast, but they had not. But they are moving forward with public comment or public.
Okay.
Forum.
yeah, it's scheduled for the 13th. They chose to do it on a Sunday, hoping to get more people who would be in town, so it's 12 to 5 at the library on the 13th. And they did send us a copy of the postcard, which I'm happy to send out as an email blast. I don't know if maybe later on, maybe later on next week, so it's fresh in people's minds that,
So
I can
they've
send it
mailed a
out.
postcard to everybody?
Yes. Yes,
Everybody in town?
yes.
And then I think she, make sure I get her name right.
Yeah,
Rebecca Ford, I think she emailed a PDF of that to all of us, so I had asked her permission to push that on Facebook and.
And her plan was to post it also on Residents of Centerville, but I think she's also waiting later in the week, so it's, she said, so.
And I made sure with what I put out, as you all know, I try to put some bullets out of the highlights of our agenda a couple days before the Thursday night, and put that at the bottom, just a picture of that. And I made sure that the bullet point from our standpoint was that, you know, in essence, this is this is not an endorsement of the project, but just, you know, we want the citizenry feedback. So I just want everybody to know I am planning to be there the entire time, and I'm going to be just talking to everybody I can that comes and capturing, you know, with tick marks, you know, who's in favor based on what they heard and saw, who's against, and just try to capture that to bring back as sort of formal documentation from the council vantage point.
The interactions with them have been very good, very good. They were very understanding of exactly what we wanted to do as far as them handling their own public outreach.
Good. Good, that's progress.
Yeah, I was really encouraged to see the meeting was outside town hall on a weekend when people can actually go.
Yeah, exactly.
Positive development for sure.
Reports of department heads, town manager.
Just a few things for tonight. Little Kidwell, the extension of Little Kidwell on through to Vincent. The town has received the plans from the county and reviewing them, wrapping up review, I should say. They're hoping to break ground on this and do this summer. And they will also be handling the Green Street extension. They're removing parts of that to kind of wrap up that area, and the remaining pieces that stayed paved, because there is a driveway that will be deeded over to the town along, and that's the paved section with a little bit as an easement, and then the plan is to put bollards at the end, so nobody can just drive into the dirt or park into the dirt. Electricity futures, I sent you all an email this afternoon. This was new to me. A gentleman named Kerry Schwindel reached out to us about the purchase of futures, which last happened for the town in 2019, and 4-year futures, which takes us to July of 23, in which we are paying about just under 5 cents per kilowatt hour. So they'll look at our billing for the town and so forth and go through and try and get quotes for us. But this is new. I'm still talking with the finance folks. I know the council has not been involved in this before because it happened before all of your tenures, to try and get a handle on how often this happens. Now, at that time that we entered into that contract, energy prices were far better than they are of late. So they seem to be in a hurry for us to get back to them. And I'm more in a hurry for you guys to be fully informed before you make the decision, so that we know what we're going to lock ourselves into, particularly in such a volatile market.
Why do we not just buy our energy directly from Delmarva Power?
I'm going to have to ask that one. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, their rates, I think their rates are more.
They're around
that
8
way
cents
than-
a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
They're what?
around 8 cents a kilowatt hour vice for.
So we're
Now,
paying less going, through this.
Okay.
well, that's,
Usually that's how it works out too. Their rates are always a bit higher than what we can get through this process.
Okay.
well, we will explore the process, obviously, but to answer your question, though, I don't know if we've ever asked them. Could we enter in a futures relationship where we could?
Yeah, because
get
I
a
just
better
know
rate?
for consumers, it can be really bad to buy your energy elsewhere because usually those contracts sort of balloon. So it doesn't sound like that's what it does for the town. I would just be really curious.
No, I don't think it's ever ballooned for us. It's always been, it's like a 4 or 5 year thing that we've always had, 5 years, yeah.
I'm sorry, this is the second term, not with the same company, but it's a second 5-year term that we've entered into.
Okay.
Buying futures.
Do we shop around or we just use this one company? I'm just very curious.
They shop for us.
Okay.
He sent me an email, and it was just kind of and then he called, and I was kind of like, oh, and who are you?
Right, things you didn't even know you
Yeah.
had to do.
Yeah, and he sent me the copy of and he said, well, I can send you the last contract. I said, well, please do. And then I've been talking with Karen to say, okay, let's find the paper trail on this so that we can prep council. I sent you what he sent me today, so it's in your email queues when you get a chance to look at that. And then we'll see where we need to be. The last time they reached out to us was October of 2018, and council's final decision didn't happen until April of 2019. So I don't know if we were watching the rates or why it was extended out so long, but just happened this week, so just getting back to you to say, okay, here's what I know, and we'll advise you as we move forward.
Real quick, I had a chance to look at what you sent, and obviously I don't speak for everybody up here, but I would just echo your point about the volatility of the market. I think we have every reason to believe that volatility is going to increase exponentially. So to the extent that we can get a recommendation and an actionable item on this, I, for one, would like to see that sooner rather than later.
As soon as he comes back with the rates, if we're, you know, and see what their recommendation is. Obviously, we worked with them before, but I think this name was different than what we had before.
Sure.
So I want to find out. I don't know.
Got it.
Bottom line.
Thank you.
Next item is POTS, plain old telephone system. There was an email came out that talked about Verizon doing some things as far as twisted pair and copper cable and having to comply with federal regulations on moving away from that. And then Verizon came out with a thing and said, hey, that was third party, that wasn't us, that was inaccurate. So there's a change there where they're recommending municipalities and such move over to voice over IP. So I looked at that, and I was kind of curious when I looked at the phone that's sitting in my office, and there are numbers that I call in Annapolis where I have to dial 1 first, and we're paid long distance. So I think the sooner we can move away from this, the better. But, you know, this is a recent activity, so we're going to look into that. I know we're getting some new phones down at the Wharf Building, so we're going to try and bring our telephone system into this century over the next, month or two. And then just a kind of a food for thought in looking at different things as we look at changes we want to make in our infrastructure as far as administration that Carolyn brought to my attention was a missive from the Maryland Municipal League that was about a telework policy. And post-COVID, and the dynamic has changed where people do work from home or may need to work from home at times, that we're going to need to codify that if that's something we're going to allow. So, and pending questions from council, that's all I have for this evening.
Hard to retain people. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just say I would love to see a proposed telework policy. We've talked a lot in the few months that I've been on the council about how we do things for our staff, and that's something that costs us nothing. But as someone who missed a work trip this week because of childcare challenges, I know how helpful work from home can be. So,
if I may, Mr. President, before Joe gets going, two things I didn't write in my notes. One, we had 17 code enforcement actions in February, 18 are which are 8 of which are still open. 2 thus far from March. One fairly serious that I'll email you all, let you know, and then that may be a closed session item.
good, so it's not my trash cans.
Yeah, no. And then, in looking at something for, just I'm planting a seed here for discussions that are going to come up in the budget. Of the last 20 people we've hired for DPW, 1 person has made it to the 1-year mark. We keep hiring at base, and we keep getting the same result. If we go past the last 20, I've got 3 that made it a year, 2 that were water wastewater that made it 3 years. So maintaining our staff and getting them to any kind of significant competency in their role is difficult. That what I'll recommend probably in the 23 budget is that we look, instead of going from base up to maybe a level 3 for utilities or water wastewater. So, and the idea is that if they come here, we just lost another staff member for $6 more per hour. If we hire at base, they're going to find those kinds of offers. But if we move up to hire, not just for more money, what we're hiring is skill. And we bring somebody in, they're less likely to leave for maybe $1 an hour than somebody that's going to leave for $6 an hour. I just think that we need to change our approach because I'm seeing a pretty consistent result. And it's not a working business model.
What is base salary for?
Currently $16.05. That was after the 3% COLA. Before it was $15.53.
Should we repeat it? Just
1605?
Sorry, $16.05.
1605.
COLA, and before
1953.
Okay.
Do we have an idea of the cost to train? I just think
That's
retention's
the same
gotta be.
question I was going to ask. I mean, if you're paying $5,000 to train somebody every year,
Let's get their CDL,
Yeah.
all
Oh,
of
so
that.
the CDL. is
uniforms.
something- Yeah.
Oh,
uniforms,
yeah.
I think we're supposed to get back, the CDL and things, we've got a draft of a contract that if the town is gonna expend that kind of money, if you leave prior to a year after that
Yeah.
training, then you have to reimburse us for the training.
So
So,
I, for one, would like to see sort of carrot and stick. So if the stick is, we're going to require they sign something, that they have some sort of time commitment here.
Yes.
But I would be all for seeing some sort of mini business case analysis justifying, and I think it would, because I know Kip and I have talked about this before. I'm sure Anne Arundel County is most grateful for us training and equipping, if you will, and getting the experience of our workers, because that's what's happening, let's face it. So.
one of the things that you'll be
Before
getting.
you go any further, Chip, I'll just say that with the police department, we have been in a situation where we have paid for other people's requirements, the sheriff's requirement, that if officers leave within 3 years, they have to pay back their uniform costs and other associated costs. So that may not be the deterrent that we hope it could be, requiring people to pay back the training costs. And if you leave a year plus 1 day, I'm
Yes,
just,
I mean, there will be undoubtedly some losses. One of the things we want to put in place is an individual development plan, training plan, so that people don't come in as a job. We want them to see that there is a future here, that they can advance and move up, not just in salary, but in skill. And that we think that they will find the job rewarding and working here to be rewarding, and that we will be able to maintain better people. What we're doing now isn't working, so we're going to have to move in a different direction. Now, pending the questions.
I don't have any. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Good evening. We'll talk parking meters. At the direction of council, after the last meeting on 22 February, Lieutenant Meal and I canvassed the town of Centreville and inspected the 73 coin-operated parking meters. We went through and changed batteries and fed coins into each of these meters, testing them to make sure that they were operating correctly. 13 meters were placed out of service due to not responding to the initial troubleshooting techniques that we tried on them. Those meters are bagged with a red bag as out of service. We actually took some of the, to alleviate some of the parking concerns along Commerce Street and some of our other roadways that are kind of the hub of our business district. The meters that were out of service on Commerce, Water, Lawyers Row, and Broadway, we actually switched those components out to another metered location and brought in operational components to get this little quad area here with operational meters as best as we could.
You said 13 were not functional?
Correct.
Out of 70?
Out of 73. And I have an itemized list if you're interested, but those are the numbers. You are interested?
I'm not.
No, okay.
I cut back.
Watching paint dry would be more fun, right? The non-operational parking meters, again, have been covered with red bags and will remain out of service. The cost to repair the non-operational coin-operated parking meters is estimated between $6,000 and $8,000. I've instructed our officers, and I've been out myself multiple times, to immediately resume parking enforcement with an emphasis, kind of a gentle approach, that the parking meters are back in service and making it, more of an educational campaign at this point early on as we begin to enforce the meters again. I am beginning to receive some cost estimates to move forward, looking at the parking kiosk. As you had mentioned, I can share with you these quotes do not, obviously it's not something that's done over the telephone. A lot of times they require a site inspection, or they want to send folks out to look at what the lay of the land is. One company came out, and I'll just give you some bullet points on what a kiosk system would entail and prices associated with that. A rental for one of those kiosks is $500 per month. monthly, each multi-space meter would be charged a pass-through software fee, which is $50 per meter. Upfront costs to program the meters for what specific price is $382. Any price change, which is, I believe, made by resolution or ordinance, I can't remember which one you said now, is $350 just to have each one of those prices changed. Paper rolls are $175 for 3. One-time delivery fee of $300, and the town of Centreville would pay for all signage. This particular merchant account fees on all credit card transactions is 4.3%, and the revenue is 75% to the town of Centreville, 25% to the vendor. And obviously, everybody kind of sees where I'm going here with this. So
The chief and I will be establishing a parking kiosk company after this meeting.
that's a local company that's pretty well known over in Annapolis. Obviously, the city of Annapolis, their parking demands are a little more rigorous than what ours are.
I think we probably have a quantity shortfall in terms of what it would take to make something.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, the bottom line here is that we can look at the revenue over the last 5 years, which I've done, and the end is not going to justify the means there. It is just, if you want me to, it's just not going to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not something that I think is going to be feasible. So being a guy that never comes to the table just with problems, I offer a solution, and Mr. Kugel and I had the opportunity to speak earlier this week. And what my recommendation to council is that we try a 60-day pilot where we remove the meters on Lawyers Row. We can use those meters, the functional meters, and rotate them in and rotate out the ones that are currently non-operational. And I want to do a 60-day trial on Lawyers Row where we put up 2-hour parking signs. We pull the meters, we put parking signs up there, just on Lawyers Row. The officers from the Centreville Police Department will enforce those, that 2-hour parking area. And if successful, I'd like to implement that same strategy on Commerce Street in front of our businesses, on Water Street where our businesses are, and along Broadway, so that we are keeping a lot of these parking places that are in front of our businesses who need that turnover for customers. We would keep that open with that 2-hour parking, and then just have the other locations. I think there's just a handful of parking meters out here on Liberty Street. There's 8 out on Liberty Street, and then the town lot, we would keep those operational as well as a charging station. So that's the best news that I have. If we did end up removing, according to my math, if we ended up doing kind of our business hub here, or these roadways that I've explained, we would end up removing 43 meters and have a remaining 36 meters, coin-operated meters still in place. This saves us in the long run too, because then we're not purchasing a refurbished digital meter for $3,000 to $8,000. We'll have a somewhat of a significant surplus of meters from the ones that we've pulled and replaced with 2-hour parking signs. And so I think that would last us some time anyway before, you know, we take another visit at this. This obviously doesn't circumvent the process of emptying the meters, and certainly doesn't free up our police officers much more than what they are now, when we're now every 2 hours going around and checking on things. So I would encourage council to maybe reconsider at least a part-time parking enforcement officer. I know prior to my tenure here, that was budgeted between $17,000 and $19,000 annually. There's a job description and career ladder for that position that's already in existence. It's a non-sworn position that could help us supplement some of these enforcement efforts if we decide to make this change. So,
Why wouldn't we just roll everything to 2 hours?
Yeah.
That was going to be my question too. Why not just get rid of them all?
The signs cost about $26. $1,500 invested, and you saw the numbers he was giving you. So it's a modest investment to replace the meters with signs. And as Chief and I discussed, there is an aftermarket for selling meters at about $1,000.
That would substantially cover the cost of the meters, the meter signs, I should say. And the only other thing that I'll add is that I did contact Chestertown Police Department, and they said, we don't even fuss with meters anymore. And Denton Police Department, they actually have 2 kiosks in their town, but I think their parking situation is a little bit more hardy than what ours is. So I happily await your orders.
Why do we charge in the town lot on where the post office is, Railroad? Why do we meter the spots that are on the road, but not the rest of the lot?
Yeah.
But for the turnover for the businesses, that parking there is figured to be the business parking for the places that are on Water Street right there.
Employees or people visiting them?
No,
People visiting.
The meter is for people visiting those
Yeah.
places.
And then the inside is basically for employees of the businesses that are around town, or visitors.
Please keep in mind that you have 3 charging stations there, which those parking meters are charging more per hour than the others.
I like the idea of switching to the 2-hour parking with some enforcement. I think I would love to see after that 60-day pilot what the workload is like to enforce the parking and then look at it, but I think it's silly to keep any of the meters. I mean, we need the turnover of the parking, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze here. Like, we don't make enough money to keep them. I say yank them and sell them and get the 2-hour signs.
My vision also with the growth in electric vehicles is that those meters that are parallel to Water Street, that we continue to grow those EV charging stations so that that entire row would ultimately over time be for electric vehicles.
Like electric police vehicles.
Like electric police vehicles.
Teslas. I am supportive of your experiment of taking them out on Lawyers Row and seeing how that works. So do we
I am
have,
also.
for how long do you want to do that?
60 days. That may take some time, so I'll have to work with Kip on that. The signs will need to be ordered, so I think once we have a pretty good grasp on how long it's going to take to remove the meters, and when the signs arrive, we'll push the start button then, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You good? Consensus?
Yep,
Thank you.
Okay.
thank you.
Moving on to the prisoner partitions, as a follow-up to some questions that council had after the last meeting. I prepared a memorandum for town manager, Mr. Kugel. The partitions that were ordered from Dana Fleet Safety. And so there were some questions about how many vehicles to upfit to make half and how many to do full and associated prices. There's 15 total emergency police vehicles that are owned by the town of Centreville, which are assigned to the police department. There's 13 that are currently used by members of the department and 2 that are utilized as spare vehicles. 2 of these vehicles are used, one by me and one by the lieutenant, which do not require prisoner transports. 2 police vehicles are designated canine units. Now, the canine inserts that we have actually have half of that insert is for the canine, and then the other half of that is actually has a built-in prisoner transport system. We typically try to avoid transporting prisoners with our canines, though. So this leaves an actual total number of 9 emergency police vehicles that would require transport partitions. 2 of those partitions were ordered under the FY22 budget. The purchase of, and I think Councilman Johnson, you had asked, what the number was. The purchase of 3 additional partitions under the FY22 budget would actually satisfy half of our fleet and provide at least 1 prisoner partition transport system per shift.
Excellent.
The purchase of 4 additional prisoner transport partitions under FY22 or 23 budget would allow each patrol vehicle to be equipped with the partition. So we'd have our full fleet with the partition of 4 additional. The cost of one of these partitions is $2,563, $2,563, with a labor cost of right around $1,500. So getting down to brass tacks, if we did 3 more of these partitions under the FY22 budget, to give us half the fleet with 1 on each shift, it would be $12,191, 12191. If we did purchase a total of 7 additional, which would make 9, because we've already ordered 2, that would give us our whole fleet covered with this under FY22 or 23, would take us to $28,446. I've met again with Mr. Kugel and been working with Karen to hopefully identify some remaining funds on some of the B10 line items. We're going to have about $8,000 left over from our canine purchase. And then there's some additional funds that may total to be right around $39,000 or so that we're hoping at the end of FY22 that we can use to purchase either half or full at council's discretion. So I'm happy to talk more about that if you'd like, if you have any questions.
Can Karen come up real quick?
And I do want to add a comment. Carolyn has looked at FEMA to see if there's any reimbursement opportunities.
Yes.
I'm just waiting to hear back from them. I was back and forth and got information from Chief and sent to them, so.
I had that in my notes. I apologize.
If you don't mind me asking, thank you for the detailed information. Have you had enough time to form a recommendation on?
Yeah,
What
Chief and
funds are
I
available?
talked and we went over his numbers and he showed me what his intent was, that he could purchase all in this fiscal year, where he showed the budget lines that would be reduced in order to cover. So, yes,
So it's reasonable,
That
no
is-
adverse impact?
it is. My only comment would be, make sure we receive before June 30. If we're going to do it for FY22, otherwise it would have to flip fiscal years.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Can we assume that you've been read in on this stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Or Eric was just hanging her out to dry.
So I would like to think that all of us up here would see, at a minimum, there needs to be at least 1 vehicle per shift. I still have enduring concerns about the liability of if that particular vehicle is en route with a prisoner. Now we have no backup vehicle. And I just think the liability that we have as a town on this, for our officers in particular, but also as a town, if something happens, that concerns me. So if the funding is there, I don't know how the rest of you all feel. This is something I would like to check off of our list sooner rather than later.
Me too. I say all of them.
I'm for it.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Art, I do have a couple more things. I was just saying thanks for the, for the vote of confidence there.
You're welcome.
It's great. It's good. It's nice to hear. New canine, Sergeant Larimore, Officer Holden and I took a ride down to Delmarva Canine in Salisbury yesterday, and we looked at 2 dogs which are available. A 2-year-old black lab was selected. We went out and put him through a couple little different tests. I think we selected a really good dog. It's a 2-year-old black lab, and Officer Holden and Canine Cash is his name. Will begin their 4 weeks of narcotics detection and tracking beginning Monday. So we're very excited. It's just a great dog with a great personality. A couple things coming up. Sergeant Larimore is actually going to be attending. He's a defense tactics instructor at the Warwick Police Academy down in Salisbury, and he was invited to attend a de-escalation instructor training, which the Police Academy has been so grateful for our support to the Police Academy down there. They picked up the tab on it. So he's going to attend a 2-day instructor's course for de-escalation training, which again, now we don't have to send people at cost to attend de-escalation training. We'll have an instructor in-house that'll take care of that. Great. So that's really good for our department. And just a reminder to the public that the Centreville Police Department website contains a host of useful information to include links on how to pay a red speed camera citation, and all of our Centreville Police Department monthly overview reports are loaded onto that site each month for each year. And with that, I yield.
Any questions for the chief?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Town attorney. Good evening.
Evening. I have nothing, but I thought I'd come up to say that in case there are any other questions or any direction that you wanted to give me.
We all have a draft of some text on wastewater. I guess it's, we should probably talk about what we want to do with that, if we want to take some time to review it individually and then maybe come back next meeting with a, does that need to be in the formal ordinance form, or?
Yes, I think it,
Does, okay. So someone would have to draft that up and then offer it. So anybody that's willing to do that should do that.
I just have a couple questions that would be helpful. So would love to know how many allocations are already paid for, how many there's just deposits on, like all those numbers to understand fully the impact on if we instituted a moratorium, what is the impact out there of people who've already bought allocation versus what we see as remaining? Because Kip, when you give us a number of remaining flows, that's taking into account what we've already sold, right?
No.
No, it's not.
Kip, you should come up here. And we'll let you go next, so you can stay up here.
No, when I give you a report on flows, those are actual flows at the wastewater treatment plant. They don't exactly correlate to the number of EDUs that we have out there or anything like that. We do use both numbers together to help get a handle on the remaining capacity of the plant. Like I say, it's the actual flows that we're receiving at the plant that we go by.
But when we estimate how many allocations we have left to give, we are taking out the ones that have been purchased already.
We have a spreadsheet with all that information in, and I can bring it to you and we can go over it line by line. It'll tell you, for argument's sake, the county has X number of allocations already in reserve for the property out there on Vincent. 4 of those are going to the YMCA. You know, the remaining are for the other parcels out there. The business park, they have X number of EDUs that, and depending on the situation, some of these EDUs have a deposit on them and some of them are fully paid. So I can get to Linda to work with us and break that down to tell you exactly how many EDUs are out there.
Now, the fully paid ones, I mean, they have a legal right to connect, or no?
if there's at some point in time, yes, but whether there's capacity for them to do that now or not.
Well, the thing is, we try to take the flows and the number of EDUs that, or the number of allocations, I'm sorry, and we kind of use those numbers together to know when we're going to get to 100%, so we don't oversell the capacity.
Right, so that's kind of what I was asking, is if you were to say, I think it was 195 or something last time, that was taking into account what the business park and the county and others might already own. They weren't part of that 195. I'm making up numbers here, but.
Yeah, no, yes, they're already in account.
Okay.
Before that, when we say we have this many left, we've already counted in all the ones that are already allocated or have deposits on. Every lot in, vacant lot in town has one assigned to it. It doesn't mean that that property has purchased the EDU, but it is assigned to it so that, I'm sorry, the allocation is assigned to it. It doesn't mean that it's paid for, But because it's a vacant lot and at any time somebody could build on that lot, we have to be sure we cover that lot.
There's
Right.
about 60 vacant lots.
And so we had a couple lots over like Windsor or somewhere over there, not that long ago, maybe last year, that where either a deposit or a purchase had
Right,
expired.
right.
So I guess it'd be helpful to know, like, if any of these have expired, to Councilperson Kaiser's point. I mean, if they were paid for a decade ago, you know, what,
They're included in it because they've already gone through their subdivision, so there's 4 lots there. So we've assigned 4 allocations there. It doesn't mean that the developer is paid for it or the property owner is paid for them, but because there's 4 lots there, the subdivision was approved, we're counting those into the number of allocations that are out there.
So, I mean, I'd love for us to have a much longer discussion about this, obviously, but to me, I would hesitate to say it would apply to already fully paid for allocation. I would want it to be new allocation only, just because if I was someone who had bought one, I would be hot.
So my recommendation would be, we're not taking any more deposits or purchase of new allocation, new EDUs.
But that we would honor what we've already sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There aren't that many that are fully paid. There's a lot that have deposits on them, right?
To my knowledge, yes.
And are
But
people able
we can get you the
to
firm numbers.
sell their, you know, if I'm the county, am I allowed to sell my EDU to another?
Can't transfer it to another property.
Okay.
So you could, the business park's a little different because theirs aren't assigned to, it's to the business park
They're
itself. So
assigned.
they have a little bit of ability to move it around.
Right, if they
when
got a
deal.
tenant, they could
Right.
allocate their
But you can't
allocation.
transfer from one property.
To another.
Right, the business park couldn't sell it to
Right.
some other part of town. Okay.
But the property I was talking about was in fact a transfer of ownership of the lot.
Yes,
Right.
And the question was, you know, they sold the lot with
yes.
the implication that you have the allocation. We paid for the
Yes.
EDU. But it had expired because they hadn't used it within 4 years, I think was something
Yes.
like that. And
But wouldn't it run with the lot the same way it would run with a building? Like we have the vacant corner here in the center of town. They certainly are hooked up to water that sort of runs with the building. Is a lot treated differently when it transfers ownership or?
It was just, I think in that case, it was a PWA where it had a specific time frame that
Gotcha.
the allocation was good for, and then they didn't move forward and pay their final amount, and so the PWA provided that it
So if we could
expired.
get that spreadsheet just to sort of fully understand who's got deposits, who's fully bought, because I would just want to know the scope of our impact before we pass something.
we have consensus for that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, good idea.
And one thing with the particular lot you're talking about, the previous owner tore the building down. When the building's tore down like that and then it changes hands, they have to resupply for an allocation for it. It doesn't mean we don't have one in reserve,
Right.
but somebody's got to buy an allocation for it.
But if the building's not torn down, the hookup runs with the building, then just you
Right.
can assume that you can have water there. Okay.
I don't think I realized that. I didn't think I realized that when a building's torn down, they've got to pay for another allocation.
If the
Torn down
property
and
changes
sold.
hands.
Yes, if the property was sold, yes.
Even a house? I'm just curious.
Not if the house is there still.
But if they demolish a house?
Yes. and
Then it
sell
becomes a
piece of property.
vacant lot.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you.
Unless they're still, well,
If-
sorry, we own it now, unless they're
We
still
own that
paying.
one now. But on the other hand, if the house is torn down and now it converts from a regular utility account and it goes as to a vacant lot fee, that can retain
Okay.
the
What's a vacant lot fee? How much is it?
I remember,
$50
it's 50 a quarter.
per quarter.
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful for me to understand just fully what's out there and the impact. And as we get so close to 100%, to sort of just realize what the expectation that people might already have. I mean, a new development sort of just has to hear what we're saying here, that we're at a critical juncture. But people who maybe already bought theirs, I think we have to be mindful of that.
And if I can build on that, I know we all probably have not had a chance to read the document that you prepared, Sharon. I did mention to her before we got started tonight that I had been able to read it. It's exceptionally detailed and invaluable, and not those two things don't always go together. So thank you again. But in that document, you all will see that we are presented with a series of things that we need to consider, and I think we've addressed a lot of that tonight through discussion. But if you had said earlier, is there somebody willing to sponsor this in terms of the coming recommendation? I'm willing to do that, and just my further suggestion would be if we could spend time, with you then answering some of that and giving us the options. So maybe it's the four of us and anybody else that wants to jump in. I'd be willing to digest all of that and then come back with some bullet points for this council.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Kim, you should
I
probably
guess
stay
I'm
up here.
going
You're next.
nowhere, son.
Public
Kip,
Works
do you need
Director.
your book?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Mine's very short. In the past 2 weeks since we met the last time, we had two pretty major water leaks, one on Windsor Avenue and one on Belvedere. First thing I'd like to say, I am very appreciative to the patience of the residents on those streets for the construction going on. There was times that we had water shut off in different areas of the streets and everything. So I want to thank them very much for their patience. The one on Windsor, I forwarded you pictures of it and everything. As we were fixing one, another one would start and then another one. So one turned into 4 with 2 patches that were previously put in that line. The one on Windsor, on Belvedere went the same way. Dig it up, and before we even fixed it, there's another leak. And then we dig back a little further, there's another leak there. So that one also turned into 4. The one on Belvedere was a water service line from the main to the water meter that served a single resident. We actually ran new service line from the main back to the curb on that particular street. The one that we did on Windsor was the water main, and you could see it's very undersized, very old, and very bad shape. So,
As we think about the work that needs to happen on Belvedere, this is clearly part of that equation, right?
absolutely, yep.
Do you know what year that was put in?
Probably the 40s and the 50s if I had to take a shot at it.
Just by looking at the,
The 1-inch water main, if that tells you what kind of water pressure it is.
there. There's a 1-inch water main?
1-inch water main with 22 houses on it, if I remember.
Good Lord.
Good grief.
And
Do they have water pressure? Any?
none of them
I
had,
don't even take the thing off of TikTok and fix their water pressure.
Well,
in the time that I've been with the town, I can't say I've received any concerns from those folks about water pressure. They've dealt with it for a long time. And
They don't know what good water pressure is like.
Lord, if we ever redo that roadway or the infrastructure, I feel sorry for them because they may have to hold on.
And it may start leaking in their houses.
Yeah, it's gonna bust
Not
all
that I
their,
wish
all
that
their
on
plates.
anybody.
Is Belvedere going to be in the budget, you think, for?
That's entirely up to you folks. I've
yeah, well,
had these streets in the 5-year plan.
the last 15
As
years.
long as I've had the 5-year plan in process and put it right there
25-year plan.
as we look for the next budget year, and they got next. They were actually due to be done before Liberty and Commerce were done. The only reason Liberty and Commerce got moved up was because the state moved up their paving schedule.
Yeah.
So with that said, after we got done, Kidwell Avenue, Pennsylvania, Happy Lady, Brown Street, we were supposed to go to include
Tillman
Tillman
Price Street.
with that, which it didn't fit the budget for that. But these two were the next 2 streets that were supposed to happen. The reason that we did Whedon first was because we had a smaller pot of money to work with. That was a smaller street and it fit in that budget.
How about Glendale? How bad is that one?
Glendale's got a larger water main in it, and it's actually Homewood from Glendale
Yeah.
to Windsor.
Yeah.
That is that 1-inch line.
Okay.
And the northern half of Windsor, so.
Well, I think it bears mentioning that penny wise and pound foolish, I think it costs the town more to have you and your team out there patching holes,
Any hours in the evening?
2 o'clock in the morning than it does to go ahead and fix that road. So while we are, we all want to be fiscally conservative, and that usually means not spending money, but in this case, I'm convinced that fiscally conservative in this case is spending the money to fix the problem.
It's costing more, yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to also acknowledge and thank you to my guys for
Yes.
working as hard as they did. And when I say that, it's not just our utility workers, it was also the water and wastewater guys. We're short-staffed, so they all work together when we have a leak like this. Also, and particularly with these 2 leaks, we have a piece of equipment that's currently across the bridge in the shop getting some work done on. And if we had that piece of equipment, we could have probably saved 4 hours on each job. But, we take care of it when it happens, so.
At least it wasn't snowing.
It wasn't snowing. It was raining on
least it wasn't
Thursday
snowing.
on Wednesday.
Right.
It was raining, but it wasn't snowing and
Right.
it wasn't 32 degrees or less, so.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your leadership of that department and your encyclopedic knowledge of what's under these streets.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ditto, I mean,
I was watching you guys out the window all day.
How's the project manager's acclimation going?
She's doing very well. She's, I think Chip has said it several times too, that, that we were afraid we were going to overload them right off the bat. And she just takes it on in stride and is very busy with the things.
Good.
I can tell you, my administrative assistant started Tuesday also. So she's getting her feet wet and doing,
Hopefully not literally.
Wait, what?
yeah, how short-staffed are you?
Out there
kid?
too, yeah.
Put her right on the street.
I wouldn't do that to these two.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Thank you.
That's all.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Finance Officer, Karen.
I don't have too much, just a couple quick things. We're finishing up working on the budget, so we will be ready to present the first draft to you on the 17th of March, and then dive into the first work session on the 24th at 5:30. You guys get the town email blast as well, so I just want to let you know we did get the information sent out on the low-income housing water assistance grant program that's going on. We have submitted our application. We're still waiting to hear back on that, but we did want to at least submit what they gave us as how everybody applies, how you know if you're eligible, who you contact. We've reached out to some people that may not be on the email blast just to kind of let them know about the program. So we'll keep you apprised of how that's going. And the last thing is, in the next couple weeks, we'll be working on renegotiating our ICS rate with Shore United. A couple years ago, we started at 2%. We're at 0.45 right now, so I'm hoping we can go higher because the rates are going up. But I'll keep you posted as we start that process. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have a special thank you, though, for you. As some of you may have heard, but if you didn't, I want to draw your attention to it. There was some language on one of our recent water bill mailings that was not consistent in terms of what was considered in arrears, the penalty for that. And it was something where I had one of our residents and then a second reach out, and it was fixed like the next day. So it was truly not even a blip on the radar screen for us. So excellent.
Yes,
Just
thank
want to
you.
say
I'll
thank you
pass
for
that
that.
to Linda as well. She caught it rather quickly and said, let's get these changed so they match.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Human Resources Manager.
Per Karen's request, I don't have much to add either. No, she always thinks my note taking. She's like, don't say any. What are you? How long is this gonna
Talk
be?
so much.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm a talker. So good evening. I just wanted to. Well, Kip already took one of my updates. So yes, he has a new administrative assistant that just started on March 1st, Samantha Smith. We're really happy to have her join our team. We currently have one utility worker candidate in the background process. It's a little disheartening. We had 20 utility worker applicants, 15 water wastewater applicants. Out of those, we were able to select the best candidates. So we had maybe 9 or 10 to interview. One showed up. So it was just really disheartening when you get confirmation from at least 4 or 5 of them and only one attends. So it's not the first time, unfortunately, to say that, but I am working diligently to get the ads up and running so that we can get these positions filled, working with Chip to, hopefully get some good candidates. So, and on that note as well, so March 15th, myself and I know the police department is also going to be there, but I am going to be attending a career day at the Methodist Church. So just, more for informational purposes, I really want to kind of get the town, or to kind of engage more with the community, to show residents and just, students and everybody what positions we have, what type of career paths, we do offer. A lot of people, may not know what positions we actually do have in the town. As far as the vacant positions, we do have the utility worker and water wastewater operator positions still vacant. Let's see, I had the health plan review last week with Benecon, our broker, and our Cigna representative, just to go over kind of like a mid-year review of claims, where our high marks are, things that, we can, that we can look through together, even as a team. What are the high prescription costs? Are there a lot of high claims in certain areas? What kind of focus we can do to engage with our employees, resources that we can provide them. So I'm working on that with them to come up with some good plans for the new fiscal year. Introducing and constantly reminding our employees about the employee assistance programs that we have. Connect Care 3, which is a free service for employees, which is 24/7 care, where you can contact and speak with a certified nurse practitioner and get some updates, or at least some educated opinions on resources for if, let's say, they were diagnosed with something severe. They can contact Connect Care 3. They can talk to a nurse practitioner who will not only do the research for them, but offer them with provider resources, do some more research on questions to ask doctors. They would also actually attend doctor's appointments with you to be more of an advocate, especially if you're not familiar, especially, cancer. If anyone has cancer, that's such a complicated disease. And a lot of people who've never had it before don't know what questions to ask a doctor. So these are certain things that the insurance company and the reps and myself are going to work on to kind of have good plans to provide to our employees and educate them as much as we can to offer them these free resources. So what that does is it helps to reduce, any kind of claim costs if they're having to go to the doctor and everything, just to get those answers that they could have gotten when they reach out to Connect Care 3. So, so I'll be also next week. I have a meeting with them to get more of a solidified cost estimate of what our premiums, would look like. And right now, they are talking, it's just like an 8% trend, which is just a normal across the board. This is what the trend has been. And so 8% is kind of the number that seems to be floating around, but it could change. So we will, I'll know more next week. And just the last thing is just final touches on the personnel manual that I've been working on with Kevin Karpinski with Legit Employment Law Attorney. So we're trying to get that cleaned up a little bit so that way we have a good clean draft for council's review. So.
Thank you. Any questions?
I apologize, but you know me, I gotta have some. Do we have any kind of pulse check upcoming on our workers' compensation provider?
So workers' compensation, I have on my notes as well. So I have to reach out to all of the insurance companies that we use to get information or premium information. I have to provide them with census reports with estimated salaries of what they will be in order for us to really know what the premium cost will be. And I'm guessing, are you talking about the inquiry that you had?
Yes,
Yeah.
and just for everyone else's edification, we did have an employee, I won't go into detail in an open session about the specifics, but an employee that had a particularly bad experience while being on workers' compensation. And to the extent that that experience is par for the course for this particular company, I would be very eager to hear what other options we have. So, if a pulse check can take place to just dig into that a little further.
And I have, and I didn't know if, for open session, but I can at least explain the process of workers' compensation claims. And so there's, when a workers' compensation or when a work-related injury occurs, they notify their immediate supervisor, in turn notifies me. I submit that claim. An adjuster is assigned. In normal circumstances, an adjuster will contact that employee immediately to get the interview, get the information, and begin their process. For certain positions, when you have representation, if they involve like an attorney, then the adjuster is no longer allowed to communicate with that employee. The way that the avenue works of communication is the adjuster then has to communicate with the attorney. So then the employee has to talk to the attorney to get the information, and so the attorney is now the point of contact. And as far as my role goes, the employee has to communicate with me as well as with the adjuster. So it takes a little bit longer of a process. And we do try to make sure that, as long as, I always try to explain, we have to have communication going, or else it's at a standstill.
Well, and to be crystal clear, I don't think there's any suggestion here that something bad has happened on your end or, with town manager. I would be very interested in hearing. I'm going to assume, based on the size of our staff, that we don't have a whole lot of people that are on workers' compensation at any given time. But if this particular provider has been our provider for a number of years, if I could just ask that you guys do a pulse check with those employees to see how they would describe their experience.
Absolutely. And that is something that I've been working on is, so now I'm starting to do like a digital surveys. So they're anonymous surveys that I can send out to employees.
Great.
And with regards to health insurance, with regards to, and I'll certainly do that with all of our benefits. So that's something that I've recently implemented, and hopefully I'll get some good, good feedback, or at least detailed feedback that will be able to assist me in how to approach, any concerns that may arise.
And maybe in the future, we could have an opportunity in a closed session to get, some specific feedback from you on how those surveys are working. I know that might delve into some more sensitive matters.
Well, and again, the surveys will be anonymous, so I won't know who they're coming from.
Point.
What's nice, though, is that I can provide analytics, so I can show, where the popular, response is. And then when it becomes more of having to have a comment section and explain their experiences, that depends upon how the survey is created. The survey that I did recently is really just check boxes to know what the satisfaction rate is. There was multiple, 4 or 5 different levels of satisfaction. And then if there was any comments, it was more of what would you like to see? What coverage, do you may not have experienced that is something that, would like to be considered as part of the plan. So that's to eliminate any HIPAA laws or any type of, confidential information. So
Are those going to all employees, even those that don't have computer access at work?
So everyone now has a work email address, and they are accessible through Outlook.com.
Awesome.
So, yes.
That's really a great update. All right.
Oh,
cool.
sorry. I should probably have added that to my list. I apologize. Yeah, no. So yes, we have, and it's worked fabulously. If I've had to get in touch with, one of our employees who never had the work email address, I got almost an immediate response. And he told me, he's like, well, I have it. I have the Outlook app on my phone. And I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So we are moving forward in a good direction. We are trying to also look into, I know Chip has wanted us to do the digital, direct deposit notice being able to be electronic versus me folding, stuffing, passing it all out. And we are looking into that. It looks like we can't send it through email because of security concerns, but I am working with the IT manager for the county and also our AccuFund rep and just trying to see what our options are, whether it's like an employee portal, can they access it anywhere, or because the problem is that AccuFund is a server-based, so it's not on the cloud. And also, or is there a software program, which a lot of our insurance companies use, where you have to have a code sent to you and to be able to access it. So we are looking into certain options on what would be the best suitable way to get the direct deposit notices, to be able to access, W-2s, that sort of thing. So that way it'll be easier for employees and council to be able to get the information that they need. So,
Thank you.
So those are my updates.
That's all great. And
Yeah.
I think employee pulse surveys on the benefits are only going to help you be able to make stronger recommendations. And I know you're bringing us tons of recommendations for how to retain and attract staff. And so it'd be great to just have all that information to help you get
Oh
what
my
you
gosh,
need.
yes. No, and it's definitely something I've always wanted to do. I'm just glad that, we are moving in a forward direction, because I do rely on employee feedback. I rely on everybody's feedback. I think when I was doing open enrollment, like in-person open enrollment sessions, I used to have like surveys that I passed out and be like, can you just leave it here when you leave? You don't need to put your name on it. So I do it. And when I first started here, I actually had a suggestion box, and I think I only had one suggestion. Oh, he's not here anymore.
Conrad, was it Conrad?
Yeah, it was Conrad. It was Conrad. He's like, yes, can we have like after hours? Like, and I'm like, I know. So I do enjoy, I really do look forward to having employee feedback. That's, But does anyone have any questions at all? Nothing? No questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Town clerk.
I will be short.
Sure.
We've heard that before today.
Yeah, I know. So, February 22nd, we submitted the Sustainable Communities application, and I think if I'm remembering the email correctly, mid-March, end of March, we'll get some feedback. They may come back with some, they want more information or some corrections, whatever, so. And as a follow-up to the FEMA, just real quick, when COVID started, we were asked to, I don't even know what the term is, but basically apply so that we could get funds for, opening up, that kind of stuff, which I did, but we've never used it because we got funds from the county to cover all of that when they received their I can't even remember what that money was called back then. But, so they've been contacting me more lately. Is there anything else you need? We just purchased a bunch of COVID at-home tests for employees to be able to use. And I asked if I could get that covered. It is covered, but I had to spend $3,300 in order to get it covered, and it only cost $1,600, so I can't get it covered. So then I said, oh, let me ask about these, the partitions. So I submitted that. They're going to check on it and get back to me. I've just got my fingers crossed. It would be really nice if that helped. So, and then the last thing, hopefully this is quick. It is now March 3rd, so April 1st, the leases for the boat slips start back up again. So I did research some costs of surrounding, they are marinas, which I don't consider us a marina for the most part. But so the most was $6,000, and that was for a 1-year lease. They were all around Ken Island, most of them are by the foot, so $2-3 a foot based on the size of your boat. And they were either by foot or they were like $6,000, $7,000. So there wasn't really an in-between for that. So I did look at the amenities. Most of them had the bathhouses and transportation, fuel. I can't remember all of the amenities that they listed. Dog park.
What do we charge now?
Right now we charge $750
For a year.
for a year, and it was suggested to be $1,250.
Yeah. And I think you've got consensus to raise prices.
We said raise prices, but you did want us to research.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't really agree on, I don't think, on a specific price yet.
And that's just so tough to compare. I mean,
Yeah.
The county has, I think, 10 slips right by ours. They don't have all the amenities we have. We have the water, we have discharge, and we have electricity. I think they have electricity. They charge $750. We have added amenities, and we have a waiting list of about 60 people. So I think that.
That's for a 3-year term too, right?
Well, it technically, yes, they're 1-year leases, and they have the option to renew twice.
For 3, yeah. Okay.
But the leases come up when, or they restart when? March,
April 1st.
April 1st.
They run April 1st to March 31st.
So do these folks assume the prices are staying the same?
Well, right now, we have 2 that are still in their renewal. The other 8 would be all new people.
Okay.
And I can't remember if those 2 are in their last year, or there may be one that has 2 more years and one that this would be his last year.
At the end of 3 years, they get kicked out. They're done.
Yep.
They cannot renew.
They cannot renew. They can get put, which most of them do, get put back on the waiting list.
Wow, okay.
We used to, when we first started, we just let them go on as long as they wanted to because we didn't have a waiting list. So we didn't stick to the 3 years. And then when our waiting list got so long, the council said,
Raise
let's,
the price, you might have a waiting list.
well,
What if we had a competitive bidding process?
Yeah.
we started out doing lotteries. That was our first year we did a lottery. People put their name on the list. We had, over at the firehouse, we had the ball thing that we.
No, I mean like they get to name their price.
Oh,
Who wants it the
lot to
most?
manage, but also very fun.
Just to watch them.
Full contact bidding.
Just something, I am for raising the
maybe for
prices.
next year we can talk about that. I don't know if I can pull that off in a month. But,
I think we ought to raise the prices to at least $1,000.
Oh, I think we should go more.
Yeah,
I
I
would
tend to
say
agree.
1200.
Yeah.
50.
Yeah,
1250.
1250.
Good to me.
I make a motion that we change the boat fees, the slip fees from $750 to $1250 effective April 1st, 2022.
Second.
There were 4 seconds on that.
There was 4 seconds. I'm trying to figure out who was, I think Ashley was first, though.
Alphabetical.
Alphabetical? Yeah.
Well, my last name, then, it's Shelby.
Yeah, then it was me,
Yes,
so
then it would be.
I'll give it to Ashley.
Do we have to vote on something that's been seconded by everyone? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Anything else?
That is all I have.
All right, we'll move into council roundtable. Councilperson Kaiser.
The only thing I've got is that Eric and I are talking with the couple of citizens that help us with First Fridays and looking at the weather and seeing if it's feasible for April after we took these very cold months off, but really hoping to get it back going in April. So,
Supposed to snow.
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised, Jeff. So yeah, we're hopeful to have a First Friday in April, and we'll put it out on Facebook and make sure that the residents are aware. But fingers crossed we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Councilperson Johnson.
Just to prove that it's possible, I have nothing further.
But, are you sure?
Only because I talked about First Fridays.
Are you sure? Is you sure? You better ask me. Are you sure?
I am.
Huh?
It's the real Eric.
Yeah.
Councilperson Anania.
Nothing to report.
Vice President Keel.
I got a whole list of things. I'm taking Eric's
I
time.
gave it to him.
I'm taking Eric's time. I'm short. I had a phone call from a concerned citizen about our spray irrigation field, about hunting it. I know we talked about it, and he said he's actually sent a letter in for the last 10 years, I think, because he wants to hunt it, because right now, I think there's some outlaw hunting going on out there.
There is, yeah.
And I don't know how we can get that taken care of. Like, there's dead carcasses out there.
I understand
And-
those guys have removed a lot of tree stands from the farm. A lot of illegally placed tree stands.
And
And the property is pretty well marked as private.
Yes, it's posted. We're constantly in touch with DNR, and they've actually sat out there several times. It's always an ongoing situation with it. I know that one year alone, I think the guys took 12 tree stands, portable tree stands, out of our woods.
Wow.
because they come, I can tell you the community they come from, Three Creeks.
Yeah.
They come through that way and off a 10-year.
Yeah.
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 10.
What's the penalty for illegally hunting on private property?
That I don't know. That's a DNR
Yeah.
question.
Anyway, my question is, have we ever thought about leasing it out for hunting?
I mean, the question, so if you're gonna, as somebody with a lot of experience in this field, you're gonna have to stop the guys that are illegally hunting if you're gonna charge people to hunt there, right? Because if I'm paying $2,500 to hunt, and these guys, these yahoos are coming in and poaching my deer,
Yeah.
it's gonna be untenable.
Absolutely. We have addressed several times about leasing it out for hunting. There were several times that the Public Works employees wanted to form an organization and get the insurance and everything. And in the past, it's been denied. I'll leave it at that. One of the things that is a very big concern to us is the amount of equipment we have out there, and we don't want stray shots going through the irrigation pivots, tires, that kind of stuff. Buildings we have out there, those kind of things.
If you can limit it to archery type hunting instead of shotgun.
And that would be fine.
Yeah.
The archery would probably be the best because
Yeah.
then you don't have neighbors complaining about the noise or
Yes.
anything,
Just-
especially with the Three Creeks subdivision, abutting our farm also, so.
Just a thought. Thank you.
I think that'd be great to allow that at the farm.
Because if you get somebody hunting it, they're going to police their own, like if they paying to hunt it, they're going to police it themselves, so.
Yeah, I mean, someone will be out there during times that you'd want to hunt to call
Exactly.
DNR and say, someone
Yes.
without a
Yes.
slip is here.
Yes.
Can we then take for action to have something to present to council by fall?
Yeah.
Hunting season?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be competitive.
Yeah.
That's got to be competitive, I think.
I got boat slips, I can't do
I mean-
hunting.
I really like the idea of renting it out. I hear, Kip, what you're saying about you've got employees who've brought it up in the past. I'd want us to look at all options, but I think sanctioned hunting that we know is just bow hunting, let's say, sounds a whole heck of a lot better to me
Yes.
than illegal hunting on our property. So even just viewing it as a mitigation of that sounds good.
Well, if we've got people out there archery hunting, it's gonna cut down on the folks coming onto the property that aren't. supposed to be
Oh,
there,
for
but
sure.
they can report it to us.
Yeah, I mean,
No
I
quick to
I
DNR on them.
Yeah.
appreciate the concept of letting the public, letting the town staff have access to it, but I also, could appreciate the public's frustration with that. If we've got people that have asked to hunt it for 5 years, or I know I've expressed interest in hunting it every fall from this dice. So I think it would be nice to have a sort of competitive process, let people know it's available.
And that was the thing, the employees, the group at the time were willing to put a bid in on it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was kind of nixed, so.
Yep.
And anybody that was on, would have to carry a hunting club insurance policy as well.
And they actually came forth with a copy of the policy and had been in touch with the
Same
insurance
per-
company.
same
They
person
were
I'm talking
ready.
about.
They wanted it.
Okay. How many acres is that?
277, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 311 total acres.
I'm all for it.
Right. That's all I have.
Great.
I yield the rest of my time to you, Mr. President.
Councilperson Klein will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Third.
You don't need signatures, do you?
Nope, no signatures tonight.